Hits and Crits. This video is brought to you by Asmodee.
What's up, Hits and Crits family? Welcome to the next one. Today, neutrals with my boy LArks. Neutrals is not a faction. We heard. Meme time. It's not a faction, but it actually is a faction. And today let's talk about a little bit about this faction. From my point of view, this faction is really interesting to discuss, interesting to talk about, because it has each and every change in this particular faction has so much impact on the whole game, and that's why it's so complicated and tough to balance it. Also, I really appreciate that Simon back in the day, or basically a few months back even, that they were really fast hot-fixing stuff within the neutrals. So let's just remember Golden Company Swordsman, for example. So they hot-fixed it. Or Brothers in Arms from Jaqen, right? This card was also hot-fixed really quickly. So I really appreciate this about the faction. So that this is something that you really need to think about when we talk neutrals. We have to think about how hard it is to see those little tweaks and to forget some synergy across this huge game when you change something within the neutrals. So Daniel, what is your take on the neutrals before we start in?
Like you mean in general?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree. Like you have to be very careful with what you do in neutrals, and I think the history of patches, hot fixes, and so on really highlights this. So and it's interesting. I if I scroll down the change notes and so on, I'm really looking carefully what they did here. Always, like it's one of the most interesting chapters, so to speak, of the patch notes. And neutrals. There are some tryhards, or I mean not tryhards, but like really loyal people to this faction. And I always admire what they do, and there are good arguments for playing neutrals, even so. Like if you never looked at them as a faction, like do so, because their tactics deck is really a strong tactics deck. It's really also interesting to play. It's very flexible. It has strong synergies and combos with issue commands, with adaptive methods where you can take cards back and so on and so on. And it's a very good deck, in my opinion, to learn the game, because it's a very strong kind of vanilla tactic deck.
True. Like back in the day, there was this meta of like, that was one of my favorite lists where I played Ramsey Commander in Cutthroats, double Flateman, and a unit of Blackguard, and then Peter, Varys, and Roose. And what basically happens is you get this like healing machine rolling, because you can recycle cruel methods all the time, and your Flatemans will be engaged, deal out a lot of panic, and when you do a little hole in those, you just put you just throw cruel methods out, spend the panic, heal 4, and you have issue commands, as you mentioned, right? So this Ramsey can just stay back for a while in his Cutthroats and basically finish things off in the end when the Flatemen are gone. So great list, and I really appreciate the whole deck. So now back to the changes. Before we start in, I want to bring it up again. Thanks for all the Patreons supporting us in our endeavor to bring cool products, cool content, and build the best possible community we can do. And I really want to invite you guys, if you like the content, if you want to support Hits and Crits in the future and become part of this big family, please consider becoming a Patreon for Hits and Crits to bring such products as our Battle Mat to life. And enough said. Let's jump into the changes. So, in S4, Daniel, where were the neutrals? And spoiler alarm, they weren't taken too often. But yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's not like I
where do
think
we
that
come
they
from?
yeah that they were not taken too often. It's not like a S4 thing. I mean,
True.
but they had like if you look at the stats at Song of Ice and Fire stats, you see a pick rate of about like 1.4, I think, percent pick rate, and this even declined after the patch a little bit. I mean, August is a split statistic, but it seems like we even now are going towards like 1.1% pick
Yep.
rate, which is crazy. And they have low submissions regarding the amount of games that are played with neutrals. So their win rate is kind of maybe not as reliable as others are, but they have a very swingy win rate. And but in general, obviously, they are not doing great. They are doing better than Boltons, but that shouldn't be the benchmark. But as I said, like if you are a competent player, I think this deck and the faction, it has a lot to offer. And as I said, also for newer players, maybe thinking about branching out to a second faction, I think neutrals is a great choice.
Yeah,
because it's such a good learning opportunity here. And yeah, obviously we saw like the Golden Company thing, issue, whatever. This is gone. Now it's just a normal unit. And
they're fine
I
now.
personally, if I play against neutrals, like if my opponent executes his strategy and his tactics well, like it's a tough opponent.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely can be. That's how I started out. I picked up my first faction, and it was for me really valuable. Or for me, like at first, I was just thinking, right, you can play neutrals, so I will pick up some neutrals. And in the end, I ended up with a base deck and everything. And I actually played neutrals and played into a little bit into the, as I said, into the Roose area kind of things. And it really, as you said, it really teaches you the game well because the base deck especially, but also the variety of commanders. Even back in the day when you had the 3 only, this is so flexible in what you can do and adapt so tremendously with certain units and what you're trying to do, right? Especially and Dario for not Dario, Vargo for example is like a great commander. Roose Bolton back like later was a great neutral commander. Probably still is fine, especially also in like Lannisters and stuff. So that you can really do so much with this faction. So consider if you want to stay with one, consider taking them too. So you have
like we saw, there were times when we saw neutral commanders being the favorite choices in like other factions. I think like Roose and Lannisters, for example, was very prominent. And also we saw, like, I think it was in S3, we saw some little buffs to the deck where they added a couple of runes healed here and so on and so on. So like, they come from a good spot. And I think we all agree that neutrals probably shouldn't be like the overperformer faction that is dominating the meta, right?
Yeah.
And I
Probably
think,
not.
I had a good feeling about neutrals before, and to spoiler, like I still have some issues and questions, but yeah, we will go through them, right?
Yeah. Right. So the changes. As always, we start with the general changes. So Borch's charisma was changed. We covered that in past videos. I think the only really thing we have to talk about here is how bad is the Golden Company officer now. I mean, like 2 points. He does the new Borch's charisma and is only throwing out a token here and there and has Dauntless. So like even even before he was like a
Hard
thing,
sell.
hard sell only for you want to spam boisters, right? That was the only reason, or you, as you said, like in the beginning, that if you want to unlock the elephant and have some kind of meme list, you would take them. But that's probably the only reasons. And now with the new one, he's not gonna see play. At least I don't see it.
No, these were the two applications that you lined out, and like changing boisterous and not adapting the points value of the Golden Company officer feels like a little bit like an oversight to me.
Yeah.
Especially since they wanted to make the patch about attachments and commanders getting played more, and I think here they probably achieved the opposite, which is a little bit sad
Yeah.
because I think
Yeah.
it was an interesting attachment, definitely not a good one by any means, but an interesting one, and now it's simply one of the not played ones.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So the other one, also general change across the game, motivated by coin, got changed. And Daniel, maybe you can guide us through what's really important here.
Yeah, to summarize, because like the background debate is a little bit I don't know, hard to get into, but the general effect that this has is there was a question and an open question, a debate going on whether you can block motivated by coin with influence abilities like of the likes from man's NCU or added NCU. Um, and the question was, is motivated by coin targeting or not? And as far as I understand it, and we understand it, like motivated by coin now, the new wording tends towards direction that we have a targeting here because it has one friendly unit, and so it's pretty clear
Yeah.
now that this is targeting and can be
Good.
shut down.
So we got some new some hygiene into the game, which is good. So we get rid of some tedious discussions.
Ambiguities and
Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's on the general changes. Let's quickly jump to a thing that really hit me hard. As I said, like I tried to play neutrals with Roose. I tried to like tap in even before the Boltons. I tried to tap into the Boltons and also trying to play Bolton lists, but within the neutrals. And Roose was always like with his intimidating presence, what he used to have. It got replaced with Prey on Fear. Especially in the Lannisters, also in the neutrals, was a and even like there are other examples where he was just a great commander, like mostly in Blackguard, but yeah, just a great commander because also his cards, and we listed them here, even though only the Fear Keeps a Man Alive was changed, just so you can see the full range of what he can do. He's a great control commander. Right?
Yeah.
Whispered Threats is great to have NCU control or like tactics board control. And the Flayed Man has no secrets. Shutting down abilities, everyone can relate how tough shutting down abilities is. So a well-rounded, great commander. And now we have the Prey on Fear, which us both consider it a nerf to him.
It's a huge nerf. Like seriously.
Yeah.
We discussed it also in the video about Lannisters, how great of a buff intimidating presence to
High Sparrow.
High Sparrow, nice.
Yeah.
It is, and I cannot stress enough, like Roose Bolton has such a special place in my heart as a commander. I played countless games with him, and this hurts me. This hurts my soul because to just go into it a little bit, like intimidating presence had a great synergy, obviously, with spread fear because, like in general, Roose Bolton is in a unit of blackguards, like 95% or 99 even, right? So it's all about letting your opponent fail the panic and deal additional wounds. Like Fear Keeps Men Alive. This is one signature thing of this card. It's not capped. Like the Lannister card, Felty is capped at a certain threshold, and now you could have things like heal 4 plus whatever from wherever, and like it's this is now gone, and it becomes harder. And Prey on Fear is heal on a condition, and the condition is failing panic tests, which now got harder. And I mean, so I think it's a very big deal, and it's not only that Roose Bolton himself and his unit is impacted by this, because intimidating presence, works on every other unit that interacts with the unit that is engaged. But to look on the bright side of things, you now can heal a lot under good conditions.
True.
Like combining a
Let's
failed
stay
panic
positive.
test. Yeah, combining a failed panic test, where you have Prey on Fear and Fear keeps men alive, which is now slightly buffed since you get one additional wound if in short range of commander or Roose unit. So you could heal about 7 wounds from one failed panic test if you have an intimidating presence from another source around. This is nice, but again, like talking strength in the game, dealing damage oftentimes is better than healing damage that your opponent does. And I don't know. I think this is a big nerf. But we talked in our little discussion before the video about the context we have to see this change in with, which is to be discussed in the Bolton's video, I guess. But maybe we can talk about this a little.
Yeah, we can talk about it a little. As you said, like, and just one point on like healing 7 in a certain moment in the game. As you said, he will be in some kind of unit, and probably Blackguard. But I've seen other things in Lannisters. But when you heal in a certain point in the game, you heal back 7. Let's just assume a unit of Blackguard, and you heal back 7 with Horrific Visage and a 3 defense, right?
It could even be Lannister supremacy if he's in guards and you hear 10 or whatever. Like
yes, exactly. So that's big, and what we will discuss this in the Boltons. But what I really like to see is that they now switched or changed up the neutral version of Roose and Ramsay to the Bolton version. So we will discuss it in that video in more detail. But basically, the Roose from the Bolton's faction, he kept intimidating presence. So now he's straight up better than the neutral one in terms of his attachment, at least, right?
He still has different cards.
Right? Yeah. Still different cards, but also you have Flateman, Fear Keeps a Man Alive in the Bolton's base deck. So at least you keep this card. So I think now you get incentivized by playing in the Boltons the Bolton commander, and not in Boltons playing Roose right? Neutral commander. So right, and that's what I really appreciate. Same for Ramsay, but we will cover that later.
Yeah, and this is all in all, this is a good thing then.
Yeah,
and if the old Roose is still there, still has a place in this game, even better.
Yeah, I don't think he's not playable anymore. It's probably just us two keeping like holding on to the past. Maybe
we have to say goodbye.
Yeah, we have to say goodbye now and go to the next change, maybe. Right? That's all. Okay.
Getting more positive.
Now we let's take all our strengths together.
Yeah.
So Jaqen. Let's start with the commander version. The commander version used to have precision, as today, and he also had Overwatch.
He had only Overwatch.
No, exactly. He had only Overwatch. Okay, and that was something that I felt was always fine, I guess, and it played well into his own tactics cards. He had a good place in the Stormcrow archers, so it always felt really good. And now Overwatch is reduced, or Overwatch is gone, and he just gained precision for melee and ranged.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really don't know.
I really know where this comes from, because like after they've hotfixed Brothers in Arms, I think the commander was fine. It was could be a strong commander in certain well-built lists.
Yep.
No doubt, but this shouldn't be prohibited, I guess. So and it was kind of unique to have Overwatch on a commander. Now we have precision on ranged, which is also kind of unique, but not as definitely not as exciting as having Overwatch.
To say the least. Yeah.
So this is
Okay.
this was yeah.
Yeah.
I had to. I
He's
had a little
almost
tear,
naked, actually.
a little tear on my face because I think with this, even though the commander still has good cards, very
Yeah.
good cards,
Yeah. Yeah.
I, I cannot help but I feel a little bit unmotivated. This change, to be honest, not necessary, because they wanted to let us play more commanders, and I think again this is going in the different direction here,
Yeah.
opposite direction.
Exactly. Because when you look at the neutrals faction, you were mostly you saw Roose, and I think I would say right after was Vargo,
Yeah.
like from one to place 1, 2, 3, and Jaqen came in, I would say like straight to number 2, maybe 3, and now I don't see, as you say, I don't see play for him right now, and I'm still considering, is that like a mistake? Is that a mistake in the changelog? I don't know. But
It must be a mistake. Yeah,
it must be a mistake.
Yeah.
Simon, it is a mistake. Just admit it, right? Okay. So let's go to the attachment. There's probably nothing more to say to the commander. So the attachment, 2 points, still 2 points. Used to have, or actually stayed the same, but they reduced from Jaqen. They reduced the Widower's Protector. Yeah. So basically, what you could have done, you put Jaqen into a ranged unit, and you would put the Widower with his Sundering and melee into some unit that needs it. Like at the Night's Watch, it would be the Shadow Tower Spearman, for example, or it could be anything that is actually hard hitting. That is actually hard hitting, or can pack a punch in the middle, but can use Sundering really well. Can be everything. So that's where they come from, and they basically interacted when one of the units were attacked. They charged or attacked each other.
Yeah. And you could do so nice, like little neat things with it. It was, kind of sweet, and never it was in a competitive sense strong,
never exploited,
oppressive,
or
whatever. For newer players, it might have been hard to play around, but this is great, right? You can play around, but if you play this synergy very well, it's also not easy.
It's not easy to play around. Yeah, and you have to go a mile.
Nice. This was cool, and I mean, it's a two point attachment package, and it was something you saw. Definitely not in most competitive list, whatever, but you saw it and it was cool and all that. And now it got a nerf, like obviously a nerf. And again, like I think no need to. Like if you want to see other 2 point attachments or attachment combos played, like go ahead and give them some love because they need it seriously. So
true.
And don't go this way, I feel.
Yeah, and I actually tried both. I tried it in neutrals. I tried it in Night's Watch also. As I said, in Shadow Tower Spearman, and I actually used Golden Comedy Crossbowman, I guess. But whatever, you can also use the Builder Crossbowman. So that was, as you said, that was kind of a cool thing to do. Like probably not high end competitive wise, but it was fun to play.
Yeah, combining it with Sentinel and so on, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, but now, I mean, it's still 2 points. Yeah, I can still say it's probably playable still, but it's not really appealing to me anymore.
It was the other thing gave you like the feeling that you made kind of a good deal, maybe, because native Sundering is nothing to sleep on, seriously. But like now it's a
Sure. Yeah, but 2 points, right? I mean,
2 points really has to deliver. Like
yeah. Exactly. So just compare it. You can get, for 2 points, you get Ramsey Reek. I mean, and we do not want to go into that discussion more and more, and even and more, right? And more and more and more. At some point, they will nerf him. So, God forbid. But so that's not really appealing for 2 points anymore.
Maybe let's look at another another attachment package
Exactly. The
where they went the
reason.
opposite direction. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason I was thinking about is maybe that they say if you play a 2-point attachment within the neutrals, it might be only this one, the old one,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
now they
maybe.
changed it, and basically they tried to put it to the same level, and we are talking about Rorge and Biter, and so they the
It's
only
a big change.
change actually is just that Biter is now 0 points. You just get it for free, and it used to be 1 point. That's the
Okay.
only change, and I think now in certain, especially units, the elusive escape can really do. It can really do something, and the gang up obviously also. So especially when you play Rorge in something mobile, retreating something, and if you have Biter in something that can hold its own in the middle and engages for quite a while, and it's just 0 points, and that unit can come in, that could be a really good thing to do. I don't still know if it's 2 point worth, but it's I think more viable now that it's only 2 and not 3 points.
Gang up is really hard to value because like in certain factions it can be very good. And imagine like normally you have gang up in Greyjoys and in the more horde
Free
factions
folk.
like Free
Yeah,
Folk, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
and but if you combine it also in Free Folk, it's very visible. If you combine it with a strong attack profile of Mag, for example, where you then have 8 armor ignoring
8 on 2.
attacks hitting on 2+, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The same goes for, let's say, Landscape, where you now have still 10 dice then hitting on 2+. So it's hard to put a point value on this, which is while it is universally applicable to all the factions. So I see why they were hesitant, I guess, in the beginning, and had this cost 1 point. But now I think you can think about it. You
yeah.
can start thinking about like if you have a good combination where you make the elusive escape and inside work. um, I can see this getting played maybe.
Yeah. Right, and that already brings us to the
Which is cool.
season
Yeah.
5 tryouts. We are proposing to you out there
Hmm.
to try this out after the changes. And Daniel, you can go just right ahead and tell us
Sure.
about this cool list.
Yeah, as always, it's a little bit more of a concept list here, and we try to untangle most of the changes. I mean, here it's not like a lot, and but this is obviously a Stormcrow list, and we have Rorge and Biter included, and we make use of the still very good Stormcrow units, and the concept here is that we have a very deceptively mobile force, and which is really flexible in different aspects of the game, and every unit has motivated by coin, right? So um, the the game on the tactics board is really much very much about the bag now. You have 2 abilities from Dario, who gets Sundering from bags, and Bronn, who has his defense and morale boosted from bags. So it's very good to have Peter here to enable this in the right moment. And then we have Rorge and Biter, and we don't. Yeah, the normal choice probably would be to put Biter in the mercenaries to have like kind of an anchor where units go in and then you can engage and make gang up work. But I felt like since you have having gang up in a unit that comes flanking into an engagement is also pretty cool. And I think Rorge on Mercs is also interesting because you have all the options. Like the generalist concept is finds itself here in the unit, because if you charge me, I can either stay there and say, okay, I have whatever damage you made, I have highest attack dice wishes, I attack back, um, or I could simply, with my very decent defensive profile, retreat, dish out a weaken token, and rinse repeat. So
Yeah.
like this is very flexible. You have Sentinel. You have so many things to do. Maybe you should also look up the cards. His cards are very, very good because you can heal. You have something like a weakened panicked war cry, which triggers and make this more defensive. You have a lot of sources of tokens here, and your reckless strikes makes like the attack of the dervishes, especially with gang up, like very deadly potentially.
Yeah. What I really like about the list also is, let's look to the NCUs. The whole neutrals faction is trying to make use of the letters most of the time, because their cards get quite a buff. I would say like it feels like even more than in other decks a little bit, right? Because in other decks, sometimes in the base deck, sometimes it's just a little buff to it. While the neutrals, for example, just take what is it, adaptive methods, I guess, or is it?
What do you mean? Like which?
Surprise strategy. Sorry, surprise strategy.
Yeah.
So surprise strategy. When you have the letters, you don't even have to discard a card to recycle a card, right?
Yeah.
So the whole deck is really fueling into letters, and all these NCUs or Lord Varys and Shay can make their effects happen when claiming letters. Because a lot of times when you play Lord Varys, you can make great use of when your opponent goes to, let's say, swords, horses, also bags, obviously. So he can make use of the letters really well. Shay also, and with Peter, you can ensure that in that one particular straight up moment in the game where you need it, you can control the letters.
You could also do that. Yeah.
And he can, 2 times a game, he can just go on letters and use something else. So the whole NCU setup is also fueling into the base deck and into this list really well. Yeah, so definitely
and obviously
try it
it's
out.
like if you play the bags as your opening zone, for example, like obviously it's very good to have Varys because your opponent still has to block swords,
Yes.
right? So
Yep. Yeah.
I think this list is probably not easy to play, but
You have
I
to
can see
practice it.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to practice it, and
Yeah.
I think it will reward you if you do so. And again, this has a lot of plane attacks. There's a lot of keywords in it. It has a lot of spiking damage if you want to play like this. And yeah, it's I think something worth trying out.
Yeah. I feel so too. All right. So that brings us to the end of the video. And let's end with like our final sentences on where they will be in S5. I think from my point of view, there's only this one element where I think they will see some increasing play, and I think so because the people will adapt more and more into commanders like Dario, Vargo, and I think this game is at a state now where I think players will try to move more into neutrals, especially when we think there's a new faction around the corner. What potentially can also make use of the neutrals, we don't know yet, or can they just do Baratheon and Starks? We don't know. So I think neutrals are a faction which, at least I hope for it, should see
Yeah,
more play. It
I mean
should.
we can encourage everyone right now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
To give them a try. I think they still will stay an enthusiast's pick, so to speak, right?
yeah,
But yeah, it's like um, there are people that you could call neutral main, the likes of Luke, Winter's Coming, and at least for quite some time played mainly neutrals and were very successful with it. So
yeah,
it's possible. So go ahead, do this, and also if you want to see the S5 neutrals.
yeah.
Live and in Flash. So we are right now hosting our community online tournament, the second one from Hits and Crits, with 64 players, and one of them is Thomas Nachtal from our Hits and Quits, the team, and he was so brave to pick neutrals
Good luck,
two
man.
different, very interesting lists. Also, I think it's should be a Roose list and a Vago list.
Yes.
So check this out and maybe follow him, cheer for him during the course of our 5 games.
Yeah, and we will also stream those games, right? So
We will,
so
yeah. Maybe
so
we should get him on stream, right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I think that's it on the neutrals. Definitely check out the community tournament and our streams there. And I think there's nothing more to say. Until we meet again, roll those crits, guys.
Come for the hits and stay for the crits.